Hi, this is Dr. Tom Rogers at Performance Medicine. Uh, Continuing our series today on supplements. Which vitamin supplements should you take? And, of course, I'm very big on vitamins. I didn't used to be, but, now 36 years after practicing medicine, I take a lot of vitamins. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a funny story. My dad, who was a physician, often talked about vitamin B12. Even though he was a surgeon, he talked about B12 a lot because it's the energy vitamin. Matter of fact, all the B vitamins are energy vitamins. He told me there were three stages of a doctor's career concerning B12. The first stage of your career, you don't prescribe hardly any B12 because the only real official indication for B12 supplementation is if you have pernicious anemia, which is a rare form of anemia. Um, so in the first phase, you're not going to prescribe it to anybody. In the second phase of your career, you're going to start prescribing it to most everybody because it works and because it's safe. So the third stage of your career as a doctor is when you start taking it yourself. So I'm definitely in that third stage of my career, and I've come to realize that if you take vitamins, um, you just don't get sick as often. You boost your immune system. And that's what we're all trying to do right now is boost our immune system so we don't get sick, so we can fight off these nasty viruses that come along. I take a lot of vitamins. If you saw my vitamin bin, you'd be very surprised. Probably 20 years ago, I would have called somebody like myself kind of fruity. But now, knock on wood, I just don't get sick. I take a lot of vitamins. I feel great. Um, I'm 66 years old. As a matter of fact, all the vitamin patients that I had that I used to think they were kind of nutty for taking all the vitamins, I would actually tell them, you're just creating expensive urine. Now when I see them back, they're 85, 90 years old, and those are the healthiest people I have. So, of course, I've learned to listen to my patients over the years, which is the other thing my dad taught me, among many things. But I do try to listen to my patients because I learn a lot from my patients. So, everybody's been asking me, Dr. Rogers, you take all these vitamins. Give us some tips on when to take these vitamins and how to take them. Should you take them on an empty stomach, a full stomach? Do you space them apart because you take a lot of vitamins, which I do. So I'll tell you kind of what I do and a few tips on taking your vitamins because it is important as far as absorption and your stomach, how it's going to feel, etc. Um, I'll give you a few tips on how I do it. Admittedly, I've had to change my um, way about doing it because I do intermittent fasting now. I've never been leaner, and so I don't eat any breakfast. So I don't take a lot of vitamins in the morning because I have an empty stomach. However, there are a couple that I do take, and I'll tell you about them. So we're not only going to talk about vitamins, we're going to talk about minerals because, as you know, vitamins are organic. What organic means is they're made by plants and animals. They're living, or at least made from the living. Minerals, in contrast, are inorganic, and that means that they're elements that come from the soil or water. So you have your vitamins and you have your minerals. They're both essential. And so we'll lump those in together. But there are 13 essential vitamins, which of course are A, C, D, E, K, and all the B vitamins, or at least 8 of the B's are essential. So there's 13 essential, and oddly, there's 13 essential minerals. And those are calcium, phosphorus, sodium, potassium, magnesium, manganese, sulfur, chloride, iron, iodine, fluoride, zinc, copper, selenium, chromium, and cobalt. So those are the essentials if you want to write them down. So you need to space your vitamins out for one thing. You need to keep it simple and you need to really plan for your vitamins. I lay all my vitamins out once a month in this big bin. It really came from a fishing tackle kit. So I take mine 4 different times during the day, and I'll tell you kind of the ones I'll take. So space them out if you take a lot of vitamins for sure. Um, Now, there's certain that you need to take on an empty stomach, which means 1 hour before you eat or 2 hours after you eat. The empty stomach vitamins are the water soluble vitamins, basically vitamin C and the B vitamins. So those are the ones I take. I take my B complex and C in the morning on an empty stomach. Um, so the other ones that most of your vitamins are going to be taking with food are a fatty snack, with a fatty meal or fatty snack. Um, of course, the fat soluble vitamins, which are A, D, E, and K. Um, but certain ones you want to avoid taking together which means take them at least 2 hours apart. Because even like, I'll give you some examples, but it turns out they compete with one another. So although they're both essential, like magnesium and calcium, they work together. The calcium isn't absorbed in your bones unless you have magnesium with it. Um, but you don't want to take them together because they compete for each other. So all these calcium with magnesium supplements that you take are really not the best way to do it. I don't really like you taking calcium supplements anyway. You need to get your calcium through your food, which we've talked about in the past. But magnesium certainly you need to take as a supplement at night because it relaxes you and helps you sleep, prevents cardiac arrhythmias, helps bowel function. So you want to avoid taking magnesium and calcium together. You also want to space out your D, E, and K. Those are some of your main fat-soluble vitamins. You want to space out your fish oil and ginkgo if you take ginkgo. I don't really take ginkgo, but you space it out because they both can cause your blood to get thin, which can be good, but you just don't want it too thin. You need to take your copper and zinc separate too. Which zinc you definitely need, but it may deplete your copper. So, but if you take them together, they may compete with each other, and you won't get enough of your either one of those getting into your system. C and B12, those compete with each other. Iron and green tea. And by the way, when you're talking about iron, iron is so important. As a matter of fact, iron deficiency is the most common nutritional deficiency in the world. 25% of people worldwide are iron deficient, and it causes anemia. And most of these are women, children, and vegetarians or vegans. Anemia is when you don't, or iron deficiency is when you don't have enough red blood cells that carry oxygen to all the tissues and brain. And there's 2 types of iron. There's heme iron, which is the best absorbed by far, and that comes from meats. And then there's non-heme forms of iron that come from plants, like beans, seeds, and dark leafy greens. So if you're a vegetarian or vegan, you're going to probably have to supplement or take a lot of those beans and leafy vegetables. Other nutritional deficiencies that are very important are iodine, D, B12, calcium, vitamin A, magnesium. Those are very, very common, so you're definitely going to need those vitamins and minerals. Now, I'm going to give you some practical tips. When you take iron, be sure that you take vitamin C before it or with it at least, because vitamin C greatly absorbs the iron that you take. So if you can't figure out why you can't build your iron levels up, think about the form you're taking, and also if you're taking it with vitamin C. There's various absorption of your iron because iron can notoriously cause stomach problems. And so you need to look at that really closely. And the other thing about iron is that you got to watch out for the dose of it too, because 65 milligrams of elemental iron, which is kind of a common dose, is the same thing as 325 milligrams of ferrous sulfate. So you can't get those mixed up. You got to make sure you're taking the right form of iron, and hopefully it won't bother your stomach too much. Notorious for causing constipation. I mean, I have a lot of patients that come to me with iron deficiency. And remember, your thyroid won't work right unless your iron level's adequate. And I measure the ferritin level. That's your stored iron. That's the best way to check it. I rarely check just an iron level. It just doesn't tell me a whole lot. But it's so important, and not only how you feel. A lot of people come to me with hormone problems and thinking it's their hormones that are out of whack, when in fact it's a low iron level and they're anemic, and therefore their thyroid won't work and they're tired all the time. It causes a lot of other problems as well. More women see me for this, of course, than men. So, I take most of my vitamins with food. I take the C and the B complex on an empty stomach. And then at lunch, I'll take most of my vitamins. And I try to space them out, though. Like I say, I like to space the zinc and the copper out, especially. And, you need to, most of the vitamins are taken with food. Listen to your body. Listen to your stomach. Add your vitamins one at a time. Don't just go, taking a bunch of them all at once. Any medicine you take, never try to start 2 medicines at once. Even with vitamins, which I consider medicines, and minerals, add them one at a time. So if you don't feel right, you get stomach upset with it, look at the form you're taking, or, if you can tolerate that particular form of vitamin. There's different forms of all vitamins. And, I try to use the best vitamins. I love Life Extension. They're dated because, remember, vitamins can go out of date like any medicine can. And if they're out of date, then they're not as absorbed, they're not as bioavailable to you. So I do like the vitamins like Life Extension that is dated and tested by outside sources. I mean, you can pour a lot of money into vitamins, so you want to make sure you're taking the best ones. Especially with omega-3s. I'm going to do another podcast on omega-3s because they're so important. If you get a bad omega-3, it may be worse than taking none. And remember, omega-3s are my second most important vitamin, right behind vitamin D. And of course, you need D with K, especially if you're over 40 years old. The vitamin K helps the vitamin D bring the calcium into your bones, not your arteries. I certainly think that you can take the K with the D in this case. But you may want to space some of the other fat-soluble vitamins out, like the vitamin E and probably the fish oil. So listen to your body. I end up doing my vitamins 4 times a day. I take the ones I haven't taken at lunch, I take them with dinner, and then, of course, the ones at night, especially the magnesium and the melatonin. I certainly take CoQ10 with lunch because it gives me energy for the afternoon, and that's an important one for energy. So I space mine 4 times a day. I prepare. I usually take them 6 days a week. One day a week you're probably going to forget them anyway or be inconsistent with it. So I think that kind of helps to do it 6 days out of 7. And if you miss a dose, don't make them up and feel like you've got to take double the next day. Do not do that. Just don't worry about it. But the most important tip I'll give you today on vitamins and minerals is you need to eat right. I wish you could get all your nutrition from your food, but the plain sad fact is you're probably not. I mean, I don't think I know anybody that can get enough through their food, especially the vegetarians, which eat most of a good plant-based diet. I think it's a healthy diet, but you really are probably going to have to supplement. I'm a big believer in supplements, but again, drink a lot of water and eat right. Eat a lot of good, healthy, organic food with a lot of vegetables, especially green, colorful vegetables. I don't like sugar. Everybody knows that. I think sugar is inflammatory. And what we're trying to do is build up your immune system, build up those antioxidants. So I hope this helps you. I know it's been kind of generalized, but think about planning when to take your vitamins. You know, I take mine to work because I eat lunch at work. If I get lunch, which I do, because I'm hungry because I do the intermittent fasting. I have to eat something. And then I take my other vitamins with food, except for my morning vitamins and my nighttime vitamins. I take them on an empty stomach. So I hope this helps you. Prepare, try to keep it as simple as possible. Listen to your body. Take your vitamins and minerals. I'll see you next week.